But I remain nonetheless determined to ensure that America, after long years of drift and defeat, returns to a conservative foreign policy. My aim, as it always has been, is not only to conceptualize and articulate such a policy, but to ensure that it is actually implemented by our government. To that end, I created a PAC, a super PAC, and a foundation which together over the last 3 years has raised over $20 million. In the last 2 election cycles, I helped elect Senate and House candidates who believe in a strong U.S. national security policy and informed the broader public on the principles defining America's place in the world. In the 2014 and 2016 elections, the John Bolton PAC endorsed 181 national security-minded candidates for Congress. We contributed nearly $1.2 million directly to candidates' campaign funds, making the John Bolton PAC the most active leadership PAC in the country. The John Bolton Super PAC launched 6 major independent expenditure campaigns, spending over $8 million in innovative digital ad campaigns that for the first time successfully used advanced psychographic data modeling to target and turn out voters. With over 117 ads produced and 66 million views of Bolton Super PAC content, our efforts drove the national security campaign debate. And we will continue to expand our activities in 2018 in order to achieve a filibuster-proof national security majority in the Senate. And you can go to boltonpac.com for more information. Now, on substantive policy, conservative foreign policy has never been determined by the idiosyncratic actions or decisions of individual political leaders, whether in the legislative or the executive branch. Instead, our foreign policy has always rested on the bedrock principle of protecting our constitutional system from foreign threats and ideologies and protecting vital American interests around the world. By analogy, in the judicial sphere, conservatives insist that judges look to the Constitution's original meaning in shaping their decisions. So, too, in national security, our worldview rests on the exceptionalism of America. Faced with an often hostile world that far too often neither understands nor appreciates what makes America different, our leaders should not expect, nor should they seek, the approval of the international high-minded. We are not looking to be part of an international world order, such as that imagined by today's equivalent of the World Federalist or many in the European Union. We have made our own world order. And what I want to do today briefly is talk about, in a few key areas, the specific things I think the Trump administration should do going forward, not reviewing the past 8 years, which would take far too long, but talking specifically about what we need to do going ahead in a few key areas. Number one, dealing with radical Islamic terrorism around the world. President Trump has instructed the Pentagon to come up with a new war plan to deal with ISIS in the Middle East, and key to that plan has to be that we move to destroy ISIS as rapidly as possible, but in a way that minimizes the upside for Iran and its allies in that conflict. This is the precise opposite of the Obama approach. In any complex multi-party military conflict such as this is, destroying one party advantages everyone else. But we want to destroy ISIS in a way that minimizes Iran's gains, the gains of its puppet regime in Baghdad, the Assad regime, and the terrorist group Hezbollah. That's key. Second, on weapons of mass destruction, nuclear, chemical, and biological proliferation, there are two key priorities for the Trump administration. First, with respect to Iran and its support for international terrorism and its nuclear weapons program, candidate Trump described everything that was wrong with Barack Obama's nuclear deal with Iran. He was very firm on the subject, and he should abrogate that deal, end that deal as soon as possible. We need a clear statement of leadership by the United States that this was a strategic debacle for our country, and we don't intend to let it persist. And on Korea, the other major nuclear proliferation threat, we need to pressure China on Korean reunification, to eliminate the regime in North Korea, and to apply its unique power to stop Kim Jong-un from nuclear terrorism around the world. And on the broader subject of China itself, which will be the strategic issue for the United States in the 21st century, we need, as soon as possible, to say to China in no uncertain terms, you are to back off in the South China Sea and back off in the East China Sea. We should not tolerate China making a province out of the South China Sea. We should not see them interfere in free navigation of international waters or pressuring our friends in the region and endangering the economies of key allies like South Korea, Japan, and Taiwan. And on Taiwan itself, we should also make it clear that the notion that there is ever going to be reunification between China and Taiwan without the express, overwhelming consent of the Taiwan people is never going to happen. You know, I know we talk about a one-China policy. It was devised by Henry Kissinger. It's what he called constructive ambiguity. Now, if you're Henry Kissinger, you can handle constructive ambiguity. Us lesser lights, it's a little bit harder. I think it's time for constructive clarity. We support the people of Taiwan. We support their continued self-government, independent of China. Now, on the subject of Russia, the media love to comment about what President Trump has said about Vladimir Putin and about a variety of other things in that relationship. What they leave out, typical of the political mainstream press, because they can't handle substance, they leave out substance. So let's look at what President Trump has already said about our relations with Russia when it comes to the disastrous Obama administration New START strategic arms treaty. He has said this is a badly negotiated, one-sided treaty that gives Russia a decided advantage that we didn't have to give away, but which the Obama administration did. I think having made that analysis, the next step in the bilateral relationship with Russia is for this administration to abrogate the New START treaty so that we have a nuclear deterrent that's equal to our needs to prevent future conflict. That would be a signal to Vladimir Putin. And while we're on the subject, you may have noticed that Russia has again violated the 1987 INF treaty, which limits intermediate-range nuclear missiles. You know, there's only one country in the world that's bound by this treaty. China's not bound by it. North Korea and Iran aren't bound by it. Theoretically, Russia is, but they don't pay any attention to it. There's only one country that can't build intermediate-range nuclear forces, and that's us. What sense does that make? I think President Trump should say to Vladimir Putin, you either bring Russia back into compliance with the INF treaty, or we're going to get out of that one, too. And then the final point is protecting American sovereignty against the pressures of global governance. We see this in many, many fields, in the question of gun control and environmental issues, in right-to-life issues. People are constantly trying to make decisions for us. And just like the citizens of Britain voted to leave the European Union this past June, we have to fight for American sovereignty. And here's the principle that the Trump administration should announce. On this earth, for Americans, there is no authority higher than the U.S. Constitution. If anybody tells you that international law is superior to the Constitution, tell them to tell it to the Founding Fathers. Thank you very much.